There are ghosts, and then there is Candyman, a curse made of rage and a myth too painful to die. His name is Daniel Robitaille, but say it 5 times in a mirror, and you'll know him only as Candyman. This isn't just a slasher villain with a hook for a hand. No, Candyman is suffering made flesh, a haunting born of racism, brutality, and pain. Across 4 films, his shadow has crept through time and screen. Let's step into the mirror, where Candyman waits, where fear lives, and the darkness never truly ends. It all begins with a whisper and a thesis. Helen Lyle, a bright and skeptical graduate student at the University of Illinois, dives into the world of urban legends for her academic research. Her journey takes a dark turn when she discovers one particular story penned down in fear by Chicago's forgotten communities. A tale of a ghost with a hook for a hand who haunts the Cabrini Green housing projects. The legend says, say his name 5 times while looking into a mirror and he appears. And when he does, he doesn't just haunt, he kills. Helen, curious and dismissive, says the name, Candyman. Candyman, 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 Candyman. At first, nothing happened. No hook, no bees, no blood. But the legend has been fed. Helen digs deeper. She learns that the Candyman was once Daniel Robitaille, a gifted black artist in the 1800s. Commissioned to paint the portrait of a wealthy white landowner's daughter, he fell in love with her. She became pregnant. Their love defied the world, and the world made him suffer for it. A lynch mob cut off his painting hand, smeared him in honey, let the bees feast on him until he died in agony. Then they burned his body on the land that would become Cabrini Green, a place built on ashes, on hate, on murder. Now Daniel's spirit lives on, fueled by belief, summoned by fear. He waits in the mirror, in the shadows, in the stories told by those who have seen the impossible. Candyman isn't just a ghost. He's a memory you can't kill. Helen, driven by obsession and academia, returns again and again to Cabrini Green. She interviews residents, finds graffiti and offerings in a public bathroom, sweets to the sweet scrawled on the walls. A child mutilated. A woman's dog was found decapitated. Helen begins waking in blood-soaked places, unsure of what's real. And then he comes, tall, calm, eyes soaked in sorrow, bees crawling from the cavern of his hollow chest. The hook on his right arm drips with the weight of history. Candyman appears not to kill Helen immediately, but to seduce her into madness. He wants her to believe, to become part of his legend, to join him forever. Be my victim, he whispers over and over, like a lover calling in the dark. Helen is framed for the murders, labeled insane, abandoned by her husband, locked away. Yet she returns, one last time, to Candyman's lair beneath Cabrini Green, to save a baby he has taken. Inside a bonfire prepared for a community ritual, Helen and Candyman are consumed in flames. She saves the child, but at the cost of her own life. Her body burns, her name echoes. At her funeral, the people of Cabrini Green, once silent, now reverent, lay a hook in her grave, a symbol, a passing of the legend. Later, her cheating husband stands before the mirror, grief-stricken, alone, and he says her name 5 times. She returns, and now Helen Lyle is a legend. The curse doesn't die, it spreads. This time, it whispers through the humid streets of New Orleans. Years have passed since the fires of Cabrini Green, but Candyman lives. His story has traveled, carried in books, in whispers, in the blood of those tied to him. The sequel opens on Mardi Gras, a city overflowing with masks, sins, and distractions. A skeptical author has written a book exposing Candyman's legend as mere superstition. On live TV, he mocks the myth, dares it, scoffs. That night, his body was found, throat ripped open. The hook has spoken. Enter Annie Tarrant, a New Orleans schoolteacher whose world crashes after her brother is arrested for the murder. Their family has a past, one soaked in mystery and fear. Her father, years earlier, died under strange circumstances tied to the very same legend. In a desperate search for truth, Annie does the unthinkable. She stands in front of a mirror, and she says it 5 times. Candyman returns. Elegant, cold, patient. But this time, the horror is deeper than urban legend. Annie learns the truth. She's a direct descendant of Daniel Robitaille. His blood flows in her veins. His pain is her inheritance. His curse is her legacy. As the killings escalate, Candyman doesn't just target Annie's friends and colleagues. He targets her mind, her sanity, her belief. His obsession is not just vengeance, it's survival. He wants her to surrender to him, to carry on the legend, to bleed for his immortality. But Annie discovers his weakness, his true remains, hidden, desecrated, forgotten. She finds them, burns them. And for now, the whispers go silent. But the legend isn't dead. It's just waiting for the next voice to summon it out aloud. Before we dive into the next Candyman movie, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell. The next film takes the legend to darker streets, deeper fears, and twists you'll never see coming. Stay tuned, because the hook is about to strike again. And this time, it's closer than you think. It's 2020 in Los Angeles. Caroline McKeever can't escape her bloodline. She's Candyman's great-great-granddaughter. An art gallery exploits his story, turning his legend into a twisted exhibit. Caroline wants no part of it, but others don't listen. They summon him. They say his name. And just like that, he's back. Candyman doesn't just return to kill. He wants Caroline. He wants her to carry on the legacy, to become part of the myth, to live forever through blood, fear, and the power of a name whispered in the dark. He slaughters without mercy, painting the walls in blood, turning Caroline's life into a gallery of corpses. Friends are gutted, strangers butchered, innocents torn apart. Every death is deliberate, a message soaked in crimson, meant to break her will and force her surrender. But Caroline, like Annie before her, refuses to be consumed. She chooses fire. With trembling hands, she burns his portrait, the vessel of fear, the symbol of belief. He screams in fury. Then, there is only darkness, ashes, and he is left alone. Decades after Helen Lyle's death, the shadow of Candyman still lingers. Time has buried Cabrini Green beneath shiny condos and hipster cafes, but the pain never left. Gentrification may have scrubbed away the blood, but not the legend, not the hate, and certainly not the hook. Anthony McCoy is a promising young artist in Chicago, hungry for meaning and desperate for inspiration. When he stumbles across the forgotten story of Helen Lyle and the Candyman, his curiosity blooms into obsession. He was once the infant Helen rescued from the fire, but he doesn't remember, not consciously. The city, however, remembers. The ghosts remember, and so does Candyman. Anthony starts to paint, portraits soaked in agony, in history, in truth. He invokes Candyman in his art, in his words, in whispers, and those whispers ripple. People say his name, and they die, not quickly, not cleanly. They are slaughtered, throats ripped, bodies hung, faces split. The hook returns, carving a message into the city's polished surface. Anthony's body begins to betray him. A sting on his hand festers, spreads, rots, just like the myth taking root in his soul. As the killings escalate, he learns the horrible truth. Candyman is no longer just Daniel Robitaille. The mirror reflects more now, many more. Sherman Fields, a quiet man murdered by police for a crime he didn't commit, is one of them. Over generations, every black man unjustly slain has been woven into the hive. Candyman isn't a single ghost. He is a collective scream, a chorus of rage, a swarm. Anthony loses his grip on reality. His art becomes prophecy. His body becomes history. And in the climax of his descent, the curse does not kill him. It transforms him. The police arrive, guns drawn. Anthony lies bleeding in the arms of his girlfriend, Brianna. But justice isn't part of this story. They shoot him, and the myth finishes what the city started. Brianna calls him forth, says his name 5 times, and he comes. Not as Anthony, not as Daniel, but as all of them. The hook tears through the living. The bees flood the air. The hive breathes vengeance. And as Brianna stares into the mirror, the swarm settles. Anthony's voice, or what's left of it, echoes in the silence. Tell everyone. Candyman lives again, not as a story, but as a reckoning. A reflection of everything society refuses to face. The hive is eternal. Legends like his never really end. They just wait for you to call them. If you want more horror explained, more killers unmasked, and more nightmares explored, give this video a like and subscribe. We've got plenty more coming, so stick around. Unless you're afraid of what might follow you after you click.